I'm excited to welcome Tara Chklovski and Rebecca Anderson from Technovation. Tara is the founder and CEO of Technovation, and Rebecca is the senior program director. Technovation is a global nonprofit that empowers girls and young women to tackle real-world problems using technology. Through hands-on programs, participants learn to identify challenges in their communities and build mobile apps, AI tools, and other tech-based solutions to address them. Tara, Rebecca, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
So, Tara, you founded Technovation in 2006. Why did you do that? What was the original purpose?
I think the original purpose was really to bring this mindset of innovation to underrepresented communities who are not normally thought of as innovators. And the idea was to really bring the most cutting edge technology into the hands of unusual innovators and inventors. And my vision was that the quality of education would be so incredible that even like the richest person on earth, if they wanted to sort of put their kids into it, like they would not be able to get that. Like you could not pay for something like this, right? Like because it is so high quality, and to make this high quality learning experience accessible to everyone at global scale. So that was sort of the large vision. And over the years, we tried a whole bunch of things to learn what works, what doesn't work. And here's the model that we are with today.
So I noticed that you have a background in aerospace engineering. You have what, a master's, a PhD?
I didn't finish my PhD, multiple years in the PhD program.
So what was your original goal, I guess? Were you going to be an aerospace engineer?
Yeah, original goal was to build beautiful, environmentally friendly flying machines that were inspired by birds. So that was my PhD thesis. I was actually studying low Reynolds number flight, like low speed flight, because the aerodynamics of low speed flight is very different. So that we could learn from that. But yeah, I wanted to work at a company called Environment, and they were the first drone making company. And I was the first woman on their research team. And uh, it didn't feel like my childhood dream to be making drones for military purposes.
Right.
And at that point, there wasn't like a thriving aerospace startup industry, and I didn't want to go work for a large aerospace company. So I decided to just completely drop that and build something from scratch. And looking at sort of the big problems in the world, I felt like education was such a powerful lever for to counter sort of this idea that where you're born, your potential is really limited by where you're born, the zip code you're born in, the country you're born in. But education changes all of that. And so that's why I started this organization.
I saw the organization was originally named Iridescent, and then at some point you renamed it. Why?
So initially it was really, the idea was to, like, when you understand how something works in the world. So I have an undergrad degree in physics as well. And when you understand sort of physics principles, the world becomes very, very interesting. So you can look at something from an artistic view, you appreciate the beauty, the colors, but then when you understand the physics behind it or the engineering behind it, you get another layer of um, awe. And so it becomes multi-layered. And I think iridescent means is like this really prismatic, like beautiful hues, the different perspectives that you look at it, you get different colors. That was the reason why I called it iridescent, but it was very hard to spell, and so
Yeah.
I changed it.
Okay. That's a good reason. I mean, if you asked me to spell iridescent, I think I would have to look it up. So I guess that makes sense.
And I could not say it on the phone. Nobody would.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, nobody would get it.
Okay. Fair enough. Has to be practical, a practical name.
No.
So tell me about the Technovation program itself. How does it actually work? What does it look like from, I guess, the perspective of an applicant, from identifying a problem to solve to actually building a working AI or tech solution?
Rebecca, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Yeah, so let's say you are a student, you're, 13 years old, and you hear about Technovation, often from like a local leader in your community.
Okay.
The first step is really making a team with some other girls around you, and then identifying a problem that you care about together and that you can all agree on. And that is actually very challenging. I don't know, even for adults, it's challenging, but for students, even more so. So, doing research, talking to people in the community, our students have to get out and talk to, do user interviews and everything to really understand problems around them.
Okay.
And then they start learning, with supported by a mentor along the way. They learn tech, they learn, how to do lean canvas and iterate on that, making their prototype as strong as it can be to submit to a competition. So at the end, they also have to create a video to pitch their product to judges, and their solution, how are they going to make their solution sustainable too, not just user-friendly, but also sustainable. So it is quite the learning journey. It usually takes, a whole semester or 12 weeks, something along that.
Okay. So what are the requirements? Like, I just need a team and I need a project idea. Is that it? Like, can 2 people be on a team? Can 8 people be on a team? And what if I don't have a project idea, but I want to participate?
Yeah. Well, you do need technology. You need access to a computer. You need internet for a lot of it.
Okay.
We have some, offline activities, but you will, like for your coding or for your model training, you will need technology. And girls can work. Some girls do work alone, but teams can be up to five folks on the team.
Okay. And then you mentioned mentorship. Do they bring their own mentors? Do you provide mentors? How are mentors assigned?
Yeah, that's a great question. Often the local leader in their community, our implementation partners all around the world are supporting by matching their mentors. And then we also have an amazing pool of industry professionals from different companies who are volunteering their time also, and they can match on our platform. So everyone creates an account on their platform, and you can indicate, if you're looking for a mentor, you see what kind of skills they have, and reach out to them to see if they're interested in mentoring your team.
What locations does Technovation support? Can you basically participate from anywhere? I mean, we live in a virtual world, right? So like if I'm in Rhode Island or California or Africa, like can I participate from anywhere?
Yes.
Okay.
Anywhere.
And I'm sure you know, how many countries are you in now? How many participating countries are there?
I believe this year we had submissions from something like 130 countries. And I don't know the number of US states, but it's around that every year. We've been serving a little more than 30,000 students a year for the past few years.
Oh, wow. Is Technovation still growing? Is this bigger every year? Does it go through periods of plateau? Where are we at?
Yes, I think there are, of course, external circumstances change sometimes. COVID and although we kind of grew in COVID, but yeah, I think we are steadily growing and we're working hard to grow. We have a strategic plan to reach 25 million young women over the next 15 years. But a big part of that strategic plan is also to bring robust financial stability to all these young women post Technovation. So really to provide a huge, not just a continuum of support as they go through school, college, and into the workplace, because they need support at every stage.
How big is your team? How big is the actual Technovation, I guess, full-time staff, if you will?
We are AI augmented.
Okay. That's okay. You're supposed to say that anyway. Sure.
Yeah, right. We're like a 30+ team,
Okay.
and around the US, Canada, Mexico, but the number of volunteers we have is mind-boggling. We have roughly, I would say, between 6,000 to 7,000 mentors who volunteer, about 100 to 150 chapter ambassadors who are these incredible leaders who are building national hubs, right? Like these are not small. Like I think in Chile we reach I don't know how many, Rebecca? Like 10,000?
Like 7,000
7
per
to
year. Yeah.
And Nigeria, we have like 10, 11,000. I mean, these are huge. They make up 1/3 of the global numbers, and these are incredible leaders. And then we have student ambassadors, and then we have a sizable pool, like maybe another 5,000 judges who provide feedback to every student submission. And a couple of years ago, we thought very hard about building an AI judge. And then we realized that, everybody is going to be interacting with an AI chatbot. And what's going to be really valuable and unusual is the human touch. And I think that's what Technovation does really well. And over the past 20 years, we've been building this human network. And so I think we're going to stick in that lane.
What's the timing of this? Are these kind of like rolling admissions? Can somebody apply at any point? Or do you have, I guess, phases or designated times?
Yeah, great question. We generally open the season. Well, it's open now. It opens
Okay.
sometime in August or September. And then teams can match work anytime between now and when submissions are due at the end of April. And a lot of teams do that winter, spring semester, like January through April, to do the majority of their work, but not all. And then we always need lots and lots of judges in May, into June.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize there was a judging process, or if I knew, I forgot because we've spoken before. But I'm going to pretend like I don't know anything about this. So, what does the judging, I guess, phase look like? You have all these participating teams globally. They submit a video. You said like a pitch, and what judges watch these videos? They're 5-minute videos, and then what does the process look like?
Yeah. So participants are submitting their pitch video, their technical video as well, where they take you like behind the scenes, do their demo, and also into their coding or machine learning and AI work. They also are submitting their business canvas and their learning journey because they are students and we care about what they're learning along the way and their self-reflection. Judges have to go through a training before they're a judge. There's all of these things that they have to think about that sometimes you remember and sometimes you don't, like your implicit bias, for example. And then often events are held locally. So there will be a pitch event. Students are on the stage pitching and judges will give them feedback and they'll know their results right away. But in many places, there are not local events. You're creating your team in the middle of nowhere. And so they all go into this virtual judging pool and are matched with judges from anywhere around the world to give them feedback and scores. And then the top percent go on to the next round of judging. There's another round of judging, and then we select our finalist teams who will participate in the very final pitch for our VIP judges who provide pretty awesome feedback.
Can you talk a bit about kind of the education piece of this? So, is there like a core curriculum, if you will, that is built into the program, like a foundational set of skills that students are expected to learn, regardless of the type of project they work on?
For sure. Yes. we have a very awesome and robust curriculum that we've been sort of iterating on for the many, many years. That curriculum, does take them through all of these like very solid things of creating their product, learning along the way. What we see as top things that students come away with and we prioritize are like having the confidence to learn something that's hard and that maybe they didn't expect they would learn. So a lot of girls join because their friends joined or because somebody, invited them and they don't see themselves in tech or anything like that. Also, they come away like actually having improved tech skills. So whether that's coding, whether it's doing Scratch, training machine learning models, or learning a new coding language like Python. They're getting better at something along those lines. And they're learning also like how to launch their own business. Like I don't know about you, but when I was in middle or high school, I had, somebody would say business, and I would think that is not me. Like, what does that even involve? So these girls like have, a foot up on just understanding how the world works.
So do all students go through the same training, if you will? Like, what if some students have no technical background at all? They've never programmed. I'm sure you get plenty of students like that, but you have other students that can program in Python.
Oh yeah, this is super common. It depends on the local leads. It depends on the mentors. It depends on what the girls are interested in. They all do learn some tech, and then if they are more advanced, they'll maybe decide with the team if there are going to be a few girls who are working on the coding and going far with their, building their web app, for example. We have something super awesome now where there are easier on-ramps too. So for our younger students, we're asking them, hey, get to know, how to connect your machine learning models to Scratch. And so they can really understand the computational thinking behind what they're trying to build, which is really cool to see.
Does Technovation have any competitors in this space? Other organizations that are kind of doing the same thing?
Always, right? Like I think we compete with things that ask for a kid's attention and time.
Well, yeah.
So I think, but very specifically, I think First Robotics, Girls Who Code,
Oh, right.
but the differences are that there's no other program that combines the real world problem solving in a team with the entrepreneurship element. There are some very established national entrepreneurship programs like I think DECA and Nifty, and but they don't have the technical component, and so the combination of AI and entrepreneurship is highly unique, as well as the global sort of level of competing. And now we align really, really well to the presidential AI challenge, which is all about like using AI to solve real world problems. So I think, but the hard part really is like there are so many demands on a child's time, and especially cultural or gender stereotypes are so strong. And so parents will enroll kids, especially girls, into certain tracks pretty early on. And after school programs and sports and dance and so the challenge really is to not just sort of speak to the girls, but to actually speak to the parents, because the parents are the ones controlling the child's time, honestly. And so this is why the role of the educator is so strong and so powerful, because if the educator says to the girl, I think you'll be really good at this, then then all sorts of doors open. But um there are lots of challenges there as well, because girls typically are not thought of as being good at technology, good at math, and good at computer science. And so these are these cultural norms that we are battling.
What kinds of problems are students addressing? Can you give me some examples of recent impactful projects?
Yeah, and I was just thinking about this, that um, teenage girls are so ahead of the adults. And I've lately been thinking a lot about sort of the impact of social media on teens. And in 2010 and 11, just to give you a sense of how advanced teenage girls are, we had a team from New York create an Uber app. This was in 2010.
Okay.
This was, sorry, not 2010, 2012.
Okay.
This was way before people even knew about Uber. We had a San Francisco team develop a Pinterest app, which was to pin pictures of things that they liked and to share with one another.
Oh.
And then in 2013, there was this team from the South Bay here in the Bay Area who came to me and said, we want to make a blocker app to block a whole bunch of things. And I could not understand why they wanted to make a blocker app. Um, and and lately, I know there's been a lot of discussion around like the huge amount of social media. There's the anxious generation and stuff like that. But I think the adults are behind the teenagers, and I think the teenagers are again ahead of the adults. Where it's very interesting to kind of see how they're using social media. And overall, it isn't such a bleak picture as the adults are making it out to be, actually. So I think that's what's always fascinating to me. I earlier on, again, like, just girls have used technology in such powerful ways. In When we made the curriculum online, I was just so surprised at which girls would you do the program. In 2014, so this is, we're talking about like 11 years ago, right? We had a team from Egypt. I'm getting the country wrong, which is probably very bad. But then it was so heart-wrenching. These girls would get married off at the age of 13. And so they made a safe space, a private community for these girls to connect and to share their stories. And this was 12, 11 years ago, this was before social media was a big thing. And so over the years, like, we've seen some trends where girls, especially in low-income countries, like when you were asking Rebecca, like, some girls come in with a huge amount of sort of technical expertise. But the reason why this competition works is because they are graded on how big of a problem are you solving.
Oh.
And many times, like, just the technical components are not the only elements of this. And so the combination is what really makes for a level playing field, because when you have the technical expertise, you typically don't have a firsthand experience of hard, like, really big problems.
Right.
And so when your full judging rubric, it takes into account, well, how big of a problem is this? How many people are being impacted, and how good is your technical solution to solve this? And so the combined package is what sort of results in an overall score. And so over the years, like, we've had just some incredible winners who you would not have thought, and maybe technically they're not that strong. One of my favorite ones was this team from India that was made up of one girl who was from an affluent family and two girls from an orphanage. And the girls were finding this problem that the social workers were not very committed. There wasn't that much accountability in the social working sort of structure. And so they created an app called Baton where everything was tracked. And also, like, the orphans would not have all of their data in one place. So every time they would move orphanages, they would lose everything. And so they put this app on, and they won they were no, they didn't, they were one of the finalists, but they could not come to the US to pitch because they didn't have a passport, because they did not have a birth certificate.
Oh my God.
And so, but they actually won that, like, remotely. They pitched and they won the competition. So that's an example of, and at the same time, at that competition, one of the finalists was this incredible young woman called Gitanjali Rao, who later on went on to become the Time Kid of the Year. And she had created a highly technical opioid addiction app. And it was just fantastic in all the sort of technical elements. But this app, the Baton one, which was not as technically advanced one, because of course, like, the judges, they're humans too, right? Like, so this is a very human process. And so anyway, but I just say this because I have this book on my table. So there's this, I don't know if you've seen this book, it's called Where There Are No Psychiatrists. There's a lot of apps like that where you don't have access to health and mental health. And so telehealth is huge and has always been huge. And so those are the kinds of apps that sort of, it's interesting to see them develop over the years.
Amazing. I'm afraid to let my kids hear this, because you noted that social media isn't as bad as as we think it is. I have 3 daughters, so maybe
I have 2 daughters. Talk to them and ask them more, because when I started to do that, I was surprised. There are a lot of blocking apps and things, and it's interesting to see how they use it.
Can students bring any kind of project to Technovation? You talked about some amazing projects. Are there some project ideas that students say, this is our idea, and maybe it's not a great idea? Do you help them tweak their project to make it better so then they can participate and be a real competitor?
Yeah, I mean, well, I always think it's interesting. Tara shares how, at the beginning, we didn't use, now we currently align with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So all problems have to align to one of those and they have to show that connection.
Oh, okay.
So that actually helps a lot, but also like Tara is saying, the judging rubric is another pull to think about like, why is my problem important? How many people is it affecting? But, before we had that, the frame used to be like any problem you care about. And so
Okay.
it would be more around other things like, I don't know, fashion or something like this,
Right.
which now just to give another example of a really cool fashion one that I saw come across this year, a team created this app where it's basically about sharing your used clothes. It's like creating this network where you can trade your clothing instead of having it, go to a landfill or sell or anything like using AI to like classify the style and suggest recommendations to different people. So it's super, super cool to look at fashion that way, at least.
I think it's a tricky line. Like I've mentored for many years and I have very strong opinions and I have to really hold myself back. And I really wonder, like, it really depends upon the mentor,
Right.
whether you're coming in with a particular view and you're like, that's not going to work. And
Right.
I think that was my feedback to that app team in 2013, which I'm so embarrassed about because I told them that why are they doing this? It makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I think this is that co-learning opportunity where the adult has an opportunity to sort of shut up a little bit and let the younger ones kind of lead the way. And that's what a good mentor is. Like let the kids figure out their failure themselves because they're going to learn something anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know, it's a very human process. And there are some girls who create a project separately and then they come in because our criteria is so broad. Sure, go for it, right? And hopefully come back. And we've had girls who come back 6, 7 years in a row.
Wow, it's amazing. I have a ridiculous question. Have you thought about expanding the program to boys and men?
We spent all of this year doing that.
Oh,
No, and
okay.
like earlier before we were iridescent, it was both genders.
Oh, it was.
And
Okay.
yeah, we were because it was underrepresented communities, low income,
Oh, I see.
whatever. And the AI Family Challenge was for girls and boys. I think it was just a very data driven decision where we saw the Technovation model just resulting in so much um, like so much long-term gain compared to any other model that we were doing. We tested different formats, both genders, different dosages, all sorts of
Okay.
structures. And this idea of a safe sandbox is so strong and effective that so if you were to think in terms of just specific ROI, if dollar for dollar, this format has the biggest return on investment because these young women go into STEM careers, computer science careers, become leaders, entrepreneurs, their earning capabilities increases 6x.
Hmm.
And so it is the most effective format. So I think our curriculum is completely free online. We have a new set of units called AI in Action for both genders. And I think the only thing that is not open is the competition, but there are other competitions, right? That so
Okay.
we are going to link to that so that but yeah, I think the curriculum is so important for all students to go through this mindset of like we need to be solving the big hard problems.
Hmm. So you mentioned that the curriculum is online. What kinds of tools, platforms, frameworks are you using to teach the technical skills? You mentioned Scratch, you mentioned Python, you mentioned
Right.
machine learning. What are you using actually in practice? Like what kind of
Yeah.
platforms are you using?
Uh, that's a cool question. So our number one partner is MIT App Inventor. They have a block-based coding interface that, we've been partnering with them for many, many years. And it's just an amazing learning tool. And, you can publish your app onto
Oh,
the App Store eventually with that. Thunkable is another block-based coding that we provide support in our curriculum for. Scratch, like you said, machine learning for kids used to be our favorite. Now the connection is still like a little difficult between some of our free and low-cost tools, which we never want our participants to have to like pay for things. And so we use a lot of like Teachable Machine from Google. Also, now we have more advanced curriculum using Python to build web apps, along with like Jupyter Notebook. I'm trying to think anything else that you can think of, Tara. Yeah, I think that's sort of the rundown. And then we don't close the competition. So if students are learning a language on their own, or they want to use this competition as an excuse to learn something new, with or without their mentor, then they can. And that a lot of girls do report that as well.
So how has generative AI changed your curriculum in terms of coding specifically? So I imagine students are immediately jumping into ChatGPT, they're jumping into Cursor, they're vibe coding things. They can get to that place faster, much faster. Sure. How does it change the curriculum though?
Yeah. First, we always plan for the end result. And so we looked at changing first our rubrics. So how can we make our rubrics still continue to be valid and relevant on things that students are learning and producing, whether that's generated with AI or not. So now they have to, they're encouraged to show videos of their actual interactions with users and their user testing, that to push them to do the really hard things that still can't be completely taken over by AI. So making those connections with people you don't know, that is really hard for a lot of people. So making sure things like that happen. Tara, go ahead.
I think so. We were the first education organization to use ChatGPT in December 2022. And we quickly promoted all our students to use it. And I think where it actually helps the most is in the ideation brainstorming piece and the research piece, because it is so hard to find a problem. And that's why entrepreneurs fail a lot of times, because they haven't identified the right problem. So I think it helps a lot with that. And then for students who don't speak English, it really helps them with understanding all of the materials around launching the business, creating the business plan and everything. And I think it was incredible. 2 years ago, we started to see teams use AI generated videos even. So all elements of, and so I think we've been spending a lot of time thinking about what is important to learn. That's the fundamental question. It's not about how do we protect ourselves so that the kids are not cheating? That's irrelevant. But so I think what you were saying is absolutely spot on, is that with generative AI, they can do things faster. And so what I was really thinking about is these girls are able to implement their actual solutions faster in the real world. Because earlier it would take them the 3 months to maybe deploy a prototype, get to maybe 10, 20 users. Now they can deploy maybe 3 prototypes in that same amount of 3 months, because they're coding it, they're testing it, they're deploying it. And the hard part is still testing it in the real world, which is where the friction comes from, but which is also where the learning comes from. And so we are figuring out how to adapt the rubric to actually provide higher points into did you go out and get feedback, and did you incorporate that feedback into your next iteration? And so I think our challenge is they have so many, probably a quarter of the students who don't have access to internet, reliable electricity, things like that. And so we can't suddenly put it in and say everyone needs to be iterating at least 3 times over this period. So I think those are the kinds of things that we are trying to sort of learn along the way. But a big part of it is this large question of when knowledge work is being encroached on, what is left for the humans to be doing, and what should we be teaching the children? So this is a very active topic of discussion.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think That makes sense. So it's the prototyping that's so fast now. So
Yep.
they can
And
create
deployment.
and deployment. They can create multiple prototypes.
Yep.
It can do faster iterations. So the overall timeline is the same, but I guess the path to the end is so quick. They can build multiple versions of their solution along the way and do testing.
Absolutely. And that's true for a real, not a real, an adult entrepreneur as well, right? Like you can have a solo entrepreneur, right? Like they talk about the era of the solo entrepreneur because one person can do so
Right.
much now, right? But what does that mean? I think to me, it's an accelerated execution into the real world. So productivity is higher, all of this, like just suddenly amplified. The skill that I feel like we need to teach better is cognitive resilience because you're dealing with such a huge amount of information.
Yeah.
How do you make sense of it? These are still little kids. How do you deal with that? And that's an ongoing topic too.
What does success look like for a Technovation alum? Do you track students after they finish the program? Some do really well, right? They build companies, they go to market with their product, but do you kind of track everybody? And what does success look like?
I think this is work in progress. I think my sort of hypothesis there is that we need to have a pull mechanism. Like if we provide so much value to our alumna at every stage, they will want to stay connected to us. And if they want to stay connected to us, then we have access to their email address, and then we can always ask them questions. So that's the future that we are building towards. Yeah, we are in touch with, I would say, a lot of our alumni, the recent ones more so than the previous ones. I think success, the JPAL group at MIT has a strong framework around how do you measure women's empowerment, and it's tangible increases in along three pillars. So increased access to resources, increased access to agency achievement, and then the last one is just overall increased well-being. And I think that's our final metric of success, and well-being means, of course, number one, financial stability, which is the hardest thing. And typically education organizations don't get into workforce development, job placements, because it's hard. And I think, but we need to do that. I think it has to be a vertically integrated set of offerings, and that's not how typically K through 12 education organizations operate. But for real impact, I think we need to do that. And I think the second one is just very gender specific, where do these young women become decision makers in their families, in their communities, in their workplace? Are they recognized? Like, so you're really trying to address this issue of equality, which is not an easy one at all. And I think it comes from this idea of self-efficacy, where if you're financially stable, then all of these things will flow. So I think that's success for us. So it's way deeper than learning gains. We know we are doing the learning gain stuff.
Right.
So I think now we need to shift into this other space. Rebecca, did you want to add to that?
I think also right now, just realizing that, there's so many open questions about what's ahead of us for the future. What do future jobs look like? Those are questions that we're always sort of grappling with and trying to support our students, like no matter what future comes for them. And yeah, I think the ones who stay in touch with us, no matter, many who are in touch with us never even actually finished the program, but they continue to stay in touch with us because they still had a very impactful experience, whether they hit the submit button or not, which is very interesting to me. So yeah, just continuing to explore our community a little bit more. The people who we are in touch with, are just amazing human beings doing really cool things.
I see a lot of companies listed on the website. What roles do partnering companies play in the Technovation program?
We get all our mentors from there, or not all, roughly like half of our mentors from. And I think the mentor relationship is so strong. Whenever that industry connection happens with the girls, it's powerful new social capital coming into that girl's sphere, right? And it completely changes her sort of identity, her her goal setting. And we have so many examples of where the mentors stay in touch with the girls even after the program is done. The mentors open up internships for these girls, and then the girls get jobs at these companies. And so that human to human connection. And so when every education company is jumping on and putting an AI chatbot onto their platform, the human element there and the mentorship element there is something that is very unique. And so it has taken us a lot of effort to build up this network over the years. And the corporate partners are a key sort of vehicle for that. On the flip side, for them, it's skill-based volunteering, where it's a powerful way for them to connect deeper in their local communities, to increase their sense of purpose. Because many times, a lot of these companies, you kind of forget like what impact you're making in the world with a product, and you want to be connected back with a human to human kind of connection. And so Technovation gives them a chance to reconnect with purpose. And then the final sort of ways that they fund us, which is how the program is completely free for the girls, and it costs us roughly $250 to bring this kind of 100-hour program to a girl, which is, if you think about it, is like $4 an hour, which is way less than any tutoring. And you're getting like world-class AI cutting edge curriculum, plus mentorship, plus being part of like a global ecosystem and lifelong support. So $4 is low, but it's still a cost, so that the companies cover that.
Is that something you talk about when you're recruiting applicants? Like that there's these opportunities, these networking opportunities and internship opportunities at these companies? Is that like
We don't do a good job. We don't do a good job. We need to do a better job. But also little girls don't care. I
That's
think
true.
high schoolers will care, but only a little bit. I think they care about getting into college. And I always say, like, if like Technovation helps you get into your top college of your of your choice, because if you write your college essay about the Technovation experience, it is so unusual, because it is not even because you're a girl, but it's just so unusual for a young person to have said, I built something that tackled a real problem. Every college wants that person.
Do you provide any kind of certification for completing the program? Not that it's really needed, right? Students can talk about this on their resume and their LinkedIn and when they're applying to college. But do you actually provide certification? Is there like a digital certificate or credential that you can get when you graduate?
Yeah, for sure. As long as they submit their project, they will get a certificate saying, hey, you completed. And then if they do even make it further into the judging rounds, they'll get a semifinalist certificate or a finalist or regional honoree certificate, which is even cooler. But that submission is, really something to be proud about. We're also about to start working. We're launching an accelerator over the next several months with some participants who are 19 to 24, and they will also be getting a certificate as well. But I believe there's like more seed money involved for them, which is super exciting. So more details on that coming soon.
What advice would you give to educators or program designers looking to bring AI learning to their communities in a safe and inclusive way?
Well, a couple of things like come to mind. First of all, like, don't be afraid. You can do it. And because I just think that educators feel like, for some reason, not all, of course, there are many educators like leading the charge, but some just feel so disconnected. Also, their support systems, tools, tons of resources, and don't just stick in the world of AI literacy. That's fine, but it will come at students from all directions.
Right.
Go further. Students can be builders and creators. They don't just have to understand the safety implications and everything.
Do you have a lot of organizations that contact you for advice on how you're doing this?
So I like, when I hear that question, I think of a couple different levels. We have lots of partners, lots of schools who are, interested, questions. We've started really doing a lot more trainings lately, which we had sort of done everything virtually for a long time, but now we started doing more in-person trainings just because this is such a sort of meaty topic, especially in the US, and educators really appreciate that like human connection when they are approaching something that they view as like disconnected or sometimes scary. And then on the other level, like Tara, I think the kinds of questions you get from organizations all the time is sort of a different level, if you want to talk about that, because
I think I get a lot of I get a lot of people who are interested in launching like a big ed tech company or are in the middle of one, and I think I always like look at the problem statement and I'm like, I think the problem statement is the wrong one, and it's aiming at a gap in the current ecosystem, which is not the way to do it. But I think you have to sort of look and see like what is a real problem that people are facing, and then figure out the technology to address it, rather than, oh my gosh, like let's use this AI to make this kind of quick little app that doesn't exist. Guess what? Google is going to come around and they were working on this, and then your little startup is just going to. So the problem identification is the main one.
If you keep moving that age up, I might have to participate. It's going to have to go up a bit, though. Okay, you ready for the lightning round? 30 seconds each. Favorite tool or platform you've seen students use effectively?
I would say machine learning for kids.
Oh no, that was mine.
Oh,
I love it too much.
You have to come up with something else now.
Giant shout out to Dale. Okay, yesterday, Nano Banana, super fun, but not students. That was me.
No, that's a good one, though. A book or podcast you'd recommend to someone building a future in tech?
I would say Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning.
Oh, I read that.
Yeah.
For tech. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Well, for a lot of things, probably.
Yes. For tech.
Okay.
And I'm stuck on the anxious generation still.
Okay. Yeah. A technologist or educator more people should know about?
I like Joshua Bengio.
I would say go to our awards page and check out the technologists featured on our finalists page. They are pretty awesome girls.
Okay.
That's cool, Rebecca.
What's your favorite band right now?
Right now, I don't know if it's my favorite, but I can't get out of my mind all the K-pop Demon Hunter songs.
Okay.
They're stuck.
Yeah, I got pulled.
Mine is he's a singer, Tom Waits. He's have you heard
Tom Waits? Yeah, I know Tom Waits. Yeah.
I love Tom Waits.
Yeah, what album should I start with if I'm going to get into Tom Waits? There's so many different albums.
Oh, it depends upon the mood you're in.
Jazzy. More jazzy.
I don't know. I think the latest one, Blood and Bones, or I think that one is.
Swordfish Trombone. That's the one I'm thinking of. Is that a good album?
Oh, I would. I only know the songs, but yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know you're a Tom Waits fan.
Well, I'm not a huge fan, but he's one of those artists I think like I would like to get more into, but I don't know where to start.
Oh, I'll send you some. Yeah. Okay. I love his him as a person.
Yeah, he's interesting. What's an activity you do outside of work?
Rebecca, you go first.
Oh, I was just going to say I'm in minor depression right now because the giant public pool up the hill just shut for the season. And this summer I've just been swimming so many laps outside in the sun under the giant trees.
Nice.
It's been such a treat.
I build high-powered rockets.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, that's fun.
What about you, Brandon? What do you do out there?
What do you do for fun?
Oh, I should share. I have 3 kids. That takes up a lot of time. I play a lot of music. Yeah, I have an instrument. I have an instrument in every room.
Amazing.
Yeah, so as soon as I walk into the room, I have something to do.
Oh, do your girls play anything?
They did, like piano lessons, things like that. No one has really followed in the footsteps. One of my daughters does sing. She sings, but no one is playing. Like I play bass and guitar and drums. No one's doing anything like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. They've taken.
I think the parent can suffocate, which is what I noticed. We take up the air from the.
Oh yeah.
Right, so they're like, we need to go somewhere else and try something new.
But it skips generations. Like my kids are like, why we need to learn how to sew like grandma. Why don't you have a sewing machine? I'm like,
and you want to take them swimming, right? They're not interested.
Yeah. I should have said trapeze. I want to take them to trapeze. That's
Are your kids into rockets?
I used to take them, but as they get older, no. But we do share rock climbing, so that's the one thing that we do together.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Great.
That's cool.
Those
Great.
are great questions, Brandon.
Yeah,
we
Brandon, that was
got
fun.
through them.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And I learned a lot.
Awesome.
Great.
That's good.
Thanks a lot.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you,
See you
Brandon.
then.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Mhm.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe. More interviews and demos coming soon.